Are you ready to take a step back in time? Then you're at the right place. Tonight, the Northwest Racing Series and its Cup Series division is all set to go racing at the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway, its 1987 version. For tonight's action, for the North Wilkesboro 200, live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince, alongside the booth tonight is Greg Rentz. Wesley Utland will be in the pits this evening with Charles Wooden in the director's seat. An exciting race tonight on tap, and one that just about everybody in this series has been looking forward to for weeks, Greg. We're about to go racing, short track racing specifically, at an all-time classic.
In terms of nostalgia, Justin, this is Daytona. This is the Super Bowl. North Wilkesboro Speedway just screams NASCAR history, and this date has been circled on everybody's calendar in the Northwest Racing Series ever since it was announced that North Wilkesboro was coming to the iRacing server. All the way back in December, it was announced back then, so we're looking forward to finally getting to come through on this one.
200 laps are on the docket tonight, a lot to discuss this evening, but one of the main focal points as the months start to turn around is in just a little bit, it will end up in turn being the postseason. Tonight, of course, a 1 hour practice to begin the action. 2 laps will qualify will be getting shortly, and then the 200 lap distance race here at this very tight 0.63 mile short track. With the playoffs coming up, though, Greg, things are going to be pressure-filled for drivers wanting to make sure they are locked in on points. Only 5 drivers have locked themselves via victory/points. Brightsman, West Jr., Frazier, White, and Stabnow. Everybody else has the potential of falling out, including drivers who have won races. They need to stay consistent to stay above that cut line to be able to be eligible for the playoffs.
So this race could definitely make or break some people's playoff hopes. As you see it on screen right there, the playoff picture as it stands right now. 5 drivers, as you mentioned, locked in, and those drivers are free to experiment around and play around with different stuff. But for those drivers hovering around that playoff cutoff line, that's where you start seeing the intensity really ramped up and them trying to get themselves into a position that they can lock in a playoff spot for the upcoming playoffs.
One thing to note with one of the drivers just outside this said picture, there is one bad news story. We mentioned Caden Anderson wanting and needing to make every single race. As a race winner earlier in the campaign, he will not be able to make up enough points to reach the top 16 cutoff to be eligible for the 2020 playoffs. So bad news for him, but good news for several of the drivers who look to leap up come postseason time, like Bruce Lee Weaver, BJ Tidrick, and several others. Tonight's weather conditions are going to be very, very cool this evening too. Mostly cloudy skies, a very windy track. 86 degrees is the track temp. And there's a lot of potential for rubber buildup and attrition here. It's not an easy track, Greg.
No, it's really not, Justin. I actually got to jump behind the wheel of one of these Cup cars with these drivers for a practice session earlier. It's a very technical racetrack, and you really have to drive the car with some finesse. You don't want to run it right on the very bottom of the white line in the corners. You want to be up a little bit, and that's throwing some drivers off because they're so used to throwing it down, putting it on the white line to try to make the corner in short track racing. Not the preferred groove here. You want to be up a little bit, and that's throwing some drivers for a loop.
And technically, you're going up and down a hill as well. From the runoff to turn 4 right here, you're going downhill to that entrance to turn 1, then going up a crescent, so to speak, to get to turn 2, back uphill for the braking zone in turn 3. And it's so important you make your marks too, not just slide up a little bit, but make sure you dime in the corner at the right spots. If you don't do that, you're likely going backwards or cooking your tires.
And a lot of people think, well, it looks flat, but trust me, when you get behind the wheel of this thing and you're coming off turn number 4 and you're staring downhill, you know that you're coming downhill. So that hill throws a lot of drivers off as well. But going back to your point, you got to be careful because, like you said, it's very easy to spin out here and you could back it into the wall if you're not careful. So a lot of these drivers driving these cars, remember, this style of Cup car, the Gen 6 Cup car, has never raced at North Wilkesboro. There's rumors that they're trying to get it back going. I know there's a group trying to get it going. Unfortunately, does not sound like it's going to happen anytime in the immediate future before this Gen 6 car is gone and we go away to the Gen 7 car in 2022. So this car will never get to race at North Wilkesboro. So this is a chance for these drivers to do a different form of racing, if you will, here at this racetrack that ever happened.
To quote what Mike Joy had said during the Pro Invitational finale back in the springtime, if you have a bunch of money, millions of dollars to dump into this track, you can bring this track back to life in real-world action in the 2020s. Still a lot that can happen. Crazy things have happened already, especially the Auto Club short track now announced for 2022. But Wesley, want to swing over to you in the pit lane. Qualifying, getting ready to get started. Your thoughts on this race tonight?
Historic history. This is such a famed facility. Matter of fact, one of the first Cup races that my father took me to was the last time the Cup Series was in action in 1996 at the Tyson Holly Farms 400, where Jeff Gordon, who is now a retired, successful NASCAR Hall of Fame racer, now broadcaster, won that event. And it's so cool that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matthew Dillner and so many other people involved with iRacing got together, worked hard during December of last year during the winter months to totally clean the landscape and make this immaculate remake here on iRacing. It should be an exciting race. The pit stops are going to be premium. You have to work your way around this racetrack that's 5/8 of a mile. Then you got to work your way also on the pit lane. Don't get busted for a speed penalty. Hit your marks. Get in and off on the pits quickly. And if you're allowed to do that, if you're able to do that, you can be in victory lane. Those stories and more coming from the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway on this Monday evening for the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. We'll see what happens tonight.
Thank you, Wesley. This is going to be an intriguing race. And as the meeting continues, remember, top 12 make the playoffs. And one of the main focal points for discussions before qualifying, keep your nose clean and think big picture with those playoff drivers. Because with 4 races to go including tonight, Greg, there's a lot of intensity expected. But 4 different racetracks, a short track, a super speedway, a bigger track, and a road course, all in the span of the next month or so.
Can you say wild card after wild card after wild card? A lot of people would normally call Talladega in real life NASCAR the wild card of the playoffs because it's plate racing. That and the Charlotte Roval. But here in this one, it's wild card after wild card to get in to the playoffs. We've already been to the Roval earlier this season, so that you don't have to worry about. But here, short track going on here tonight. Then plate racing, road course. This is going to be insane, this final push for the playoffs. All kinds of different disciplines of racing where, honestly, it just throws it wide open for someone to come in and try to steal a victory here. When you go to the road course, you got to watch out for the guys who have shown a lot of speed in road course. Breitzman and Stabnow, the winners earlier this year on road course. You got BJ Tidrick, who does road course racing a lot. You opens it up for different drivers. That's moving forward, but right now we got to think about short track aces with this, and most of these drivers on the entry list for this are short track racers here in the Northwest. Qualifying is underway, so we're going to stop talking about what we're expecting to see out of this race, and we're going to go ahead and start talking about what we're seeing in this race.
But what we see to start off is your pole time being set by BJ Tidrick for now is 17.717. Taking the extra time as well to get some extra preparation tonight as BJ, he put in almost 100 practice laps tonight. One of the drivers I think both of us are going to be looking towards, though, Greg, is the number 37, your new fastest time in qualifying, a 17.6. He called his shot tonight.
He did, Wesley. Justin, talking to him earlier today, he asked me, hey, where's the race at tonight? Because he was at work hauling his real-life late model back over to the shop after a third place this weekend at Wenatchee. But he texted me, he's like, hey, where is the race tonight? I forget. I said North Wilkesboro. He said, oh, I'm winning it. So Caden Anderson, very confident. This is his favorite track on the iRacing server. And he's at the top of the charts right now with no practice, 17.632. And Justin, just for reference, that time would have been 4th in practice today.
Lightning quick, to say the very least. Already separation from the top to the bottom of the board, about 0.4 of a second here in qualifying. The top 10 time set by Carl Burke at the bottom of the pylon so far in this respective session. Final on right now, this is the 333 you see on screen. This is James Vining, now your slowest car so far. Looking to get some type of momentum back going for the final stages of the season.
Yeah, I remember a couple weeks ago at Kentucky, he had a great run going, leading laps up in the mix, and a penalty cost him a good finish there. Since then, he's been trying to get things back going. Had a decent run at Auto Club, looking to get back on track here at Wilkesboro. Nice pickup as he goes to 6th, a 17.809 for the second lap.
Should note that Dan West Jr. is now your quickest in qualifying, the 55, with the first driver in the 5s in qualifying. And it shouldn't surprise you, he was also the fastest in practice. It's been that type of a season for Dan West Jr. Been slower on the second lap, but he's your quickest so far. No one else in the entire day so far, practice or qualifying, has set a time in the 5s better than him.
And he did it both practice and qualifying. Your points leader entering tonight in the Cup Series, but not as many wins here in the Cup Series as he has on the truck side of things that runs on Thursday nights here on the LSRD. It's been the Dan West Jr. Jeff Stabnow show on that side, but West Jr. leading the points here right now at the Cup Series as we visit North Wilkesboro. So with that said, Justin, is tonight a night for Dan West Jr. because it definitely looks like it's shaping up to be a night that we're going to want to keep an eye on that 55 car.
Especially with the fight between him and Anderson that may happen. Brightsman up to P4 behind BJ Tidrick. Stephen O'Hare, I should rather say, in 5th, who did a bunch of burnouts to separate his strong qualifying run afterwards. Brightsman on the second time, a bit slower. So from what we're already seeing, you need to be the quickest on your first lap. Devin West bumped him to P5 after he moved up to 4th, while Jeff Stabnow looks to try and set a quick time.
Stabnow and West both on track. West still looking for that first Cup victory is the younger West, Devin West. He is 5th as a new driver jumps up in the 2nd. Seth Frazier, winner at Auto Club, out last time out. On his first lap goes a 17.605, and he's only going to get 1 lap in the Paul Bear's Funeral Home Ford Mustang. He's saying, you know what? Nope, 1 lap is good, and I'm going to go ahead and park it now. So Seth Frazier, a lot of confidence moving in the fine lap.
Didn't get a good run off turn 2 indeed. As we're taking a look at Chris Torres as he rolls along, still drivers qualifying on track at the moment are Frank Harris, Corey Walters, Chris White are among the drivers on the track. Tyler King not yet set a time. Ray Fournier has DNS several times, does not hit the track. Casey Garber was your top driver at one point in practice, yet to hit the trap. And Rodney Goins yet to hit the track as well. Taking a look at Walters now to 16th, while Harris is up to 18th.
So drivers still clicking their laps in. Want to talk about the guy in 17th. Brad Carpenter made his series debut 2 weeks ago at Auto Club. Had a nice qualifying run, but the race did not go his way. So with this, his second start of the season coming at North Wilkesboro, a track that's in his wheelhouse. He's another one of those short track guys. 18th on the charts right now. Looking for some speed here out of the number 31 tonight. And hearing some technical difficulties on Justin Prince's end right now. So Tyler King is on track in the number 44 right now and did not get a time either lap. So he's going to have to start at the tail end of the field as Justin's got the issues figured out. So Justin, Tyler King not getting a time as he scrubbed the wall both times there on that lap.
And that means, of course, you cannot obviously scrape the wall like we've seen. Meanwhile, Stephen Paulison, his fastest time is a 26.6. Well, that's a way to make sure you start at the back of the field.
And he's out there just practicing also right now, Justin. So something must have happened to him on his first qualifying lap, and whatever it was had to have happened coming off of turn 4, if that was the faster lap of the two. So Paulson right now, he's just out there clicking laps, trying to get some extra seat time.
Indeed, among the drivers who are yet to qualify, Casey Garber runs out of time this minute. The 56 will duck off. Rodney Goins took part in practice, but is currently not on the track anymore, while Ray Fournier also is in the garage area, but is yet to set a qualifying time. Curious to see if the 26 will race tonight. So about a minute or so until we hit the starting grid. Your expectations tonight, Greg, after what was a pretty entertaining qualifying session, the top 10 separated by about 3/10 or so.
I'm looking forward to this one, Justin. A long race, 200 laps, and it's at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. Hashtag save the Speedway, folks. We love North Wilkesboro, all the history that it has here in the world of NASCAR. We want to help see it back in real life, and we're going to do just a small part here by bringing you a taste of North Wilkesboro, what it was like back in the day. And to be able to come out here and do this here on the iRacing server with the best drivers in the Northwest on iRacing, going to be a fun one here tonight.
Absolutely expecting an entertaining race. It's just a few moments before we head to the grid. They will now roll towards the grid in the next couple moments. In total, 25 cars, set times in qualifying. 28 drivers are still in the garage area. 3 drivers in that mark then in total did not qualify for what's expected to be a gigantic field and what's expected to be a very tight pit lane throughout tonight's action. And as the crowd goes wild in the stands, drivers are ready just about to start today's action after what was a qualifying time session separated by 1 second from P1st to 24th. With that, cars ready to hit the grid, let's take a look at how they'll start for tonight's action. In row number 1 tonight, it's Dan West Jr. on the pole. Right alongside him is Seth Frazier, separated by 4/100ths of a second. Caden Anderson called his shot before tonight. He'll start from P3 and have good track position for that. BJ Tedrick starts in 4th. Devin West starts in 5th tonight, with Sean Brightsman, one of his best starting positions in a while, in 6th. With Stephen O'Hare starting in 7th. John Ottenbacher starts in 8th tonight, with Chris White wheeling his car from 9th. Rounding your top 10 tonight is Roy Grande, Greg.
The Catman, James Vining, going to roll off in 11th with Schmarcy. You keep an eye on him. He has a lot of speed in those cars over the last few weeks. 12th. Ricky Bozer and Bruce Lee Weaver, Michigan winner, going to have the 14th starting position. An eye on Bozer as well because he was having connection issues earlier in the session. Chris Torres back in the series, making one of his first starts of the season, a couple earlier this season, 15th. Dennis Moore, his second start in the Cup Series side, 2nd. Corey Walters and Brad Carpenter making up row number 9. Rounding out the top 20 will be Robert Gamble and Frank Harris.
Behind them, Carl Burke, one of the first qualifiers in the 18 flats. Dan Stussy, 22nd. Lining up your drivers on the board, Jeff Stabenow, Dan Lowther. Last time went to Paulson with the 26-second qualifying time. Very blistering quick. Casey Garber, Tyler King among your final starters tonight. Ray Fournier, Ronnie Goins not hitting the track for tonight so far. But Wesley Ellen standing by on the transponder. Believe he's with your pole sitter, Wesley.
So this driver had a phenomenal race the other night, winning at Eldora for the Eldora Dirt Derby for the Northwest iRacing Truck Series on Thursday. Now he goes to a short track, the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway, and picks up right where he left off. On the pole, the number 55 entry, Dan West Jr. Dan, what a strong run for you, bud. And this track is kind of similar to Eldora, without the exception of the dirt.
Yeah, I think you're working on the opposite end of the rig. It's you're driving off the front tires now versus the rear, so it'll be fun. I've never run a race here yet, so we'll see what a long run looks like.
All right, well, we'll definitely let you go, bud. I know it's time to get ready for the race. I think there's another lap before we actually get ready to take green, so definitely we'll see the strategy and see what happens. Good luck to him. And we're not wasting any time, actually, Justin. We're about to come to green here at North Wilkesboro.
Just about to get to racing. Once again, thank you to Dan West Jr., your grid presented by Walls Beer Co. for tonight's action. With one more pace lap indeed here, your keys to victory, Greg.
You're going to want to be patient, Justin. This is a very technical track, going downhill on the front stretch, uphill on the front stretch, kind of trying to find that sweet spot on the corner. You're going to want to be consistent and easygoing, finesse. Just take it easy. Don't get yourself in a bind, and just be patient for the first half.
200 laps on the docket tonight from North Wilkesboro Speedway. This track with so much history. Many big names have made their names and brands here. Now the question is, who will take the checkered flag here for the Northwest Cup Series? Pace car is off, green flag's up. We're underway from North Wilkesboro. Dan West Jr. leads the first lap. A good launch for him. Aiden Anderson up to the top line, trying to build up a run with the diamond method. A couple drivers going for the flat run method so far early in this race.
Remember, Justin, talking about Caden Anderson, the 37, he said this is his favorite track. He's the one who called his shot earlier today. When North Wilkesboro first launched, the first month of Wilkesboro being on the server, we had something on here, North Wilkesboro Challenge Cup races.
Pardon me for cutting you off, as Jeff Stabno and several others have spun quickly, and we talked about it being a difficult track. James Viding in the 333 brings us to our first caution after a lap.
Swag yellow flag for the first time here tonight. Taking a look now at the swag see what happened. Justin, you saw this one.
It's going to happen just up the road from these two cars you see here. The 54 gets the worst of it after Vining smacks the wall. Harris, who has had terrible luck again, bottled up. Stabno and Lowther also crash as they have nowhere to go. And that's one of the main things. It's a bottle effect on that front stretch if you crash here.
Definitely, and that's a tough one there for Frank Harris in the 11 going on his lid like that, but that is a huge one for Jeff Stabnow in that number 24 car. Remember, he's one of those drivers who's locked into the playoffs, so he's in good position right now, points-wise, that he can afford to have something like this happen, but you know he's not happy about having to come in and possibly use the fast repair already.
He also blew his engine, by the way, so that slowed up a little bit more here for his entry. So it takes a few laps for the caution flags here, but already a couple drivers really pounced and gained spots early on, in part from the attrition, but for others, because they were fairly quick off the jump. Dennis Moore gained 3 spots to get up to 13th in the span of a couple sets of corners. His Ford Mustang was actually fairly sporty in practice. After practicing for more than 120 laps tonight, he was 3rd on the board, the number 34 was.
So keep your eyes on Dennis Moore in the number 34. Remember, on the truck side of things here in this series on Thursday nights, Dennis Moore, the few starts that he's been able to make, he has really been fast in that number 34, joining the team with Stephen O'Hare and Tyler King as well. Now a 3-car operation is that group. So Moore getting to work with them has really helped with the development of that team. Stephen O'Hare said he's really been liking having Dennis Moore on board, bringing in that 3rd set knowledge, and Moore already up 3 sets after the start of the race, like you said. Watch for him to make some noise at the end of this race.
Looking on board at the front of the line, this is Dan West Jr. thinking right now with 193 to go this time. Of course, there's one of the main things here at this track, that this is a very tight restart box, so to speak. In that, I mean, the pace car drops off. It's about a couple feet past the pit entry wall. So there's that very thin line from right about here to about here, where most cars are able to time it up and launch.
We'll see how that goes throughout the course of the night. Lights out on the pace car, so we're going to get going here. The good news is, even with the caution early, this is a short track. We're still already 8 laps in to this one, and if we get a long green flag run, this is going to click away very quickly.
Your top 10 positions mostly the same. The only driver who punched their way into the top 10 just about was Joshua Marcy. Just about everyone else starting this restart where they began the race. Lap number 9 about to get underway. Pace car is off. Green flag back up in the air.
back underway here at North Wilkesboro. West Junior again getting out to that lead early as Frazier going to fall in line. Going back to Caden Anderson in third. We talked about the Wilkesboro Challenge. He ran more races in that than any other driver in the Northwest Racing Series combined. So Caden Anderson has a lot of seat time at this track. That's why he's so confident going into tonight.
Yeah, took part in some of those events myself and remember it being so entertaining. So many short track specialists took part in those respective events. Remember actually racing some of these drivers, and they kind of cooked me in those respective races. But so far, looking like very even pace for the cars in front. A couple of the drivers are bringing shuffle towards the back, though. Dennis Moore has already lost 3 spots, and the caution is out because Chris Torres is in trouble with Tyler King.
Problem for Chris Torres, and Torres is a guy who joined a league looking to be able to click laps away without having to worry about having trouble like this. So definitely going to be a tough pill for him to swallow as we take a look at the swag replay of what put us under our second swag caution of the night.
Well, you've seen the cause. That's why we've seen the spots lost for the 34. Just at the very edge of the front bumper, he came across there trying to go to the bottom. Stabnow, King, and a couple others hard hits.
So Stabnow, again, caught up in it. So not the night that Jeff Stabnow was looking for sure, in this number 24 car moving forward, because getting caught up in 2 incidents in the first 10 laps, that definitely goes for not the way he wanted to plan this one out.
Still no pit stops for the front runners. And I think one of the good examples with this pit lane that's going to make it so difficult is if we can look at the 11 car, Frank Harris. This is one of the tightest pit roads in all of iRacing, and you have to find creative ways to get into the pit box lines. There's also no pit wall, so that poor crew gets ran over, yes. Thankfully, it's drive-through, but it's also to where you run over that box just a little bit, you're likely losing time. It's also the old pit stall method, mind you, where prior to the animated pit crews, the pit stops were about 14 or so seconds. That's the case here, since there is no wall for them to animate over.
So still the old school pit stops like you just mentioned on this one, which gives them a little bit less time, or more time on pit roads. So with that being said, going to be very interesting pit stops here for sure. Could that also play a wrinkle in some strategy later in the race? Because we've seen with some of these drivers that we have in the field, strategy comes into play more often than you think.
I'm thinking that's going to definitely possibly be the case. Just going to be the matter of keeping the track position possibly throughout the night as they all pace along. Only 2 drivers have lost laps so far. James Vining, who had to use a tow after blowing his engine, used the faster pair. Paulison is down 3 laps in this race. 25 cars are still on the lead lap. The bad news is for Jeff Stabnow is, by the way, you mentioned him being involved in the incident, he's got no front nose for the rest of the day, likely. The bright side is, with how he performed in that last race at Auto Club, he is locked in on points where he can't drop below the eligibility mark. So there's the bright spot for the 24.
And he gets an early jump on the modified division in this race, Justin. So
yeah,
going to be able to click laps away on that one early.
You got to love that modified division. Sometimes you get some very sparkling performances from there. But Dan West Jr. having a sparkling performance early on has been good off the jumps and be able to get quickly to single file. Seth Frazier starts alongside him in second. Anderson, Devin West, DJ Tidrig, O'Hare, Ottenbacher, Brightsman, White, and Grande among your top 10 starters once again this time. Drivers tightening things up for the restart once again. That Effective Web Solutions machine has been a hot rod early on. And once again, all set to go, and Frazier jumped him. Frazier tried to jump it and really mistimed it.
That may be a penalty. We'll have to wait and see what is said here by iRacing and the servers. See what happens with Frazier on this one. He gave the spot back. That's good for him. But the question is, did that trigger a penalty?
That's a bit of a short track tactic to try and go a little bit earlier by half a car length, but you normally don't try and jump on the gas before then. Believe he just avoided the possible penalty, but still, While it still holds on to second for him, that could have been a disaster for the 32.
So he gets lucky there, does Frazier in the 32, able to ride it in second. Things settling down. Looks like about the top 8 are all single file before a side-by-side between Brightsman and Marcy for 9th right now. As Dan West Jr. leading the way early, but Frazier caught the wall off turn number 2. And suddenly Caden Anderson is right up there on the bumper waiting to capitalize.
Did scrape the wall indeed, but as well, you can see on screen the 46 among those drivers having to really hold off a Hornet's Nest. Up towards that fight for second, though, you referred to, it could get tight. Here's the look of that now. Anderson couldn't get the run, though, to get underneath. Update, though, from that side of things, Wesley.
Yeah, just checked in on the pit lane on what was going to happen for the 32 of Seth Frazier since he gave his spot back and he gave up considerable distance away from West. No penalty, but there has been a warning given to the 32. So if he does it again, he will get a penalty EOL. But for this time, he'll get himself a mulligan.
Thank you, Wesley, and that's to be expected because we mentioned a bit of that tactic where at some short tracks in official racing, Greg, some drivers will try and go a half a lane forward to the front nose to try and get a better chance to stay on the outside on corner exit, or corner entry rather. He really botched that up, and now as a result, he's losing time with a bit of the damage, and now Anderson and West are looking to try and pounce. He's got that defensive line, though, working.
You remember, Frazier is a short track racer at Wenatchee Valley Super Oval in Wenatchee, Washington, so not to see him try to use the short track here in this one. Unfortunately, like you said, just a little bit too early on the gun. He's fortunate that he was able to get the mulligan, but he's not going to have another one of those in the bag. As look at Devin West trying to make the outside work here now on Caden Anderson for the third spot, as Stephen O'Hare closes in as well.
Now this is the part of the run where these cars in fixed setups will get tight, as we're seeing for some of the cars having a fight. But 40 laps into a run, the right rear tire catches up and burns off quickly. So for these cars, they have to consider that. Anderson with the preferred line at the bottom. Can he get clear in turn 3 is the bigger question. Frazier tries to keep it on the outside, just kept it there.
Anderson coming off a great run at Wenatchee. Sorry, Justin, but Anderson, a great run in his late model at Wenatchee this past weekend, trying to follow it up here with what he calls his best track.
And now Frazier's going backwards a little bit slower now in this mid-run so far. Now keep in mind, we've talked a bit about the driving lines and preferences. I'm not sure what your preference is, Greg, but it almost feels like defensive line, if you want to defend, you take the middle line and try and make that work for some passes. But if you are single file, you need to run the bottom. Otherwise, well, you get a shot from Devin West to try and take you there.
Exactly. Just saw that from West going into 3, going after Frazier right now as Stephen O'Hare lurking back there. Remember, West and O'Hare are 2 guys who are still looking for that first Cup win of the season.
Oh,
both
trouble,
of them,
Torres.
Chris Torres again in the number 99.
And it's not been a fun night for the 99 so far. His second caution involved, and this time he actually ran to the door of Dan Lowther as he smacked the wall and demolished his right side of the car. Here's a look at your swag replay after the swag caution.
Going into turn number 3 here. That's Lowther in front of Torres right there. Lowther hits the wall, and unfortunately nowhere for Torres to go. Stabnow again getting a piece of it, as well as he gets hit from the back there by Gamble after having to check up to avoid Dan Lowther. So the bad day continues for Jeff Stabnow. No doubt he's just going to want to forget this race ever happened.
Pit stops have taken place under this caution flag. Seth Frazier, expected potentially with that damage, does not use the fast repair but will potentially manually repair. BJ Tidrick, Dennis Moore, Carl Burke, Frank Harris, Roy Grande, Ricky Belger, and Jeff Stabenow amongst the drivers down the lane, Wesley.
Yeah, pit stop's underway. We're going to check and see what these drivers are doing. It kind of early in the going here. It's still 170 laps to go here at North Wilkesboro, but right now the call's 4 tires, fuel, add new tires, allows you to be able to get faster traction over the rest of the drivers that did not pit, that are using up their rubber, and that is the call on the pit lane. Dan Lowther, a little damage on his car after he bounced the right rear off of the retaining wall on the front straightaway. He'll make no adjustments and still stay out there on the racetrack. And of course, Jeff Stabnow still having a bad day in the car, number 24. Car looking like a modified, as y'all reiterated on earlier. But there he is right now making a fast repair, and that car is now completely fixed. Question is, can he stay out of trouble? There's still a lot of racing left to go here at Wilkesboro.
Thank you very much. Curious to how this all plays out once again, because now we have drivers on significantly older tires at the front. It can be a little wheel spinny on some of these starts, should note, as they double up for the 2-to-go signal this time. So this could be tricky for these cars up the front, but also tricky for guys like Frazier, Tidrick, and Burke to try and get through cleanly past some of these cars in the back of this line of cars, since there's 10 of them on older tires.
And the key word for that is clean. You want to keep your nose clean. You don't want to get yourself in a position like Jeff Stabnow is in, Robert Gamble, now Dan Lowther involved. A situation where you get damage in the early going and you got to use the fast repair. You don't want to get yourself in a position like that at this stage of the race, because we still have well over 150 laps to go in this one, Justin. So it's still a long way, and to have used your fast repair already, that could be a disaster if you get caught up in some more incidents. Remember, Stabnow has already been caught up in all 3 incidents today. Just use the fast repair on the 24. He's got a fresh race car, but he doesn't have another one of those in the bank. And the way that race is going, he's got to be sweating some bullets right now.
Want to go signal once again. Out of the longest line penalty is given to Jeff Stabnow, this caution flag. Wanting to start at the very tail of the field, Lucky Dog was the 333 of James Vining. But it's West Junior Anderson off and away. Good launch by the 37. Just can't keep it to the outside, though, as once again the West trying to attack their 1-3.
West Family Racing 1 and 3, like you just mentioned, with Caden Anderson in the middle. And Anderson, remember, has run with West Family Racing a couple times here in the past. Has kind of worked with them on some certain packages. So Anderson trying to show that he has got the speed up there to compete with West Family Racing, doing a nice job. Boy, did I just see 3 wide back in the field? Yes, I did. Brad Carpenter, Carl Burke, BJ Tidrick going on for 12. Caution is out, but they were 3 wide for a moment.
We're back under yellow, and I believe it may have been somewhere around here-ish. As yes, it was just in front of him with the 54 of Robert Gamble getting hit by Tyler King down the back straightaway. Let's take a look.
This is Gamble in the 54. There you see the 3 wide in front of it. Gamble behind it right here. There's Tyler King, and oh! Looks like King was trying to pass it on the outside, and yeah, like you just said, Gamble just came up, and King was there.
So a hard hit for the 54, and that puts us under yellow as he went sideways down the back straightaway. Fortunately, remember, King was involved in one of the earlier caution flags in this respective race, so significant damage on the Ford 54 and a couple other pit stops, Wesley, in this sequence.
Yeah, Tyler King is on pit lane. A couple of other cars also taking on 4 tires and fuel as they roar out of their pit box. We see the damage on that Burgundy machine there as he goes into his pit stall for service again several times. And again, there's the 44 of Tyler King. Squills those tires as he exits off the pit lane. And the car looking like a modified after having some damage here early. 3 or 4 cautions already here at North Wilkesboro. Typical short track racing, might I add.
Welcome to short track racing on iRacing, indeed, as getting ready just about for another start. Now it's 8 cars on old tires up towards the front. Frazier was among the drivers before that who were cutting through the bottom line of drivers and quick. With how much more he was able to let the car roll, Greg, and enter the corner in terms of speed. That amount of grip could be crucial.
And that's just with the about 30 or so laps difference on the tires. And remember, we have had a lot of cautions, so in all honesty, green flag racing, it's only been about 15 laps or so, and Fraser's been able to do that with just that difference on it. Shows you just how much fresh tires mean here. So the question is, these guys who still have yet to pit, knowing what they're seeing with Fraser, how much longer till they come down?
Curious indeed. By the way, should note one driver did not make it in time for the start of this race, Eric Cheney. Please watching along tonight, and I believe there's some questions about a soda, Greg. Explain. Involving a bet.
Well, soda with Aunt Kathy is a thing, because a long time ago, back when we were at the Roval, Aunt Kathy told me she hates the word Roval. It's not a word. So that being said, she said she would buy me a soda if I made it the entire broadcast without saying it once. I did it. So ever since then, we have just been... it's been a joke that every time I say the word Roval, I have to give her a soda.
You just said it 3 times?
It's a road course and an oval. That's why they call it Roval.
Well, Wesley owes her 1, I owe her 3.
Yes, you both do. Meanwhile, pace car is off as green flag is out. Dan West Jr. is owed an error-led lap as a result.
West Jr. leading the way. Here comes West to the inside. The younger West, Devin West. Down the back stretch. Anderson clears West again for the 2nd spot. Fraser trying to make his way up through the field right now in the number 32. Inside of Bryson right now, the 2 purple cars.
Your contact as the 54 has to come down the lane. Down the back straightaway, things are getting hairy though, because Marcy, as we've seen, nearly hit the car above him. Carl Burke nearly got turned in 3 wide action. Everything is going wild in this part of the field.
Casey Garber's up in this mix as well. Remember, Justin, Garber was 2nd fastest in final practice, 2nd only to Dan West Jr. Did not qualify, started 26th, and he's up there hovering around 15th right now. So he's quietly making his way through the field as well. Watch for him.
Yeah, and he's backing off actually in this grouping. He wants to go, but there's no room for him to go. Still very tight as Burke loses a couple spots. Frank Harris used his faster pair earlier. He's now up 7 spots. And I think Garber just noticed he needs to get on that top line with this.
Garber trying to get now to the outside of Grande. New look for Grande this week as well. So we've seen him run a couple different looks, but I cannot recall him running this look yet this season. So new look for Grande. Great looking number 18 car right now. Out there running the Chevy Camaro here tonight. We're used to seeing him in the Toyota.
Driving the reps for Vets 22 machine as you look up towards the front. Fraser still holding on to a top 3 spot. And remember, he's on the fresher tires. Very obvious with that run off the corner exit. Just held on to the quarter panel of Anderson.
Fraser to the outside. These are 2 guys that you can expect to be running near the front in the iRacing Northwest Tour coming up later here on LSR TV. That's coming in October. Fraser, the defending champion of that series, just drove through the field like they were standing still. He's going to get credit for leading the lap. He's the first driver not named Dan West to lead the lap. He got trouble.
Yes, it's BJ Treadwork spinning around for the caution. Overshot turn 3, bounced off O'Hare, and brings out the yellow. Here's a look at that specifically as he tried to set it hard up the inside for the pass, Greg.
Treadwork fresh off crew chiefing at Wenatchee Valley Super Oval, and he just carried a little too much speed into the corner there, and around he went.
So back under yellow once again, and that means more pit stops possibly coming up. By the way, should note, Greg, that bet referred to was for 22 cautions. So guess what?
Oh, yeah.
You also owe more soda on top of that, too.
I'm just going to get you a 6-pack, Aunt Kathy. Here come the leaders.
Yes, indeed. Wesley, to you.
Frazier, Dan West Jr., Caden Anderson, Devin West, all these drivers coming into their pit stalls. It's a parade of activity on a very tight pit lane. It's going to be Seth Frazier getting to pit stall number 2. Pulling in front of him is Dan West Jr. Tyler King overshoots his pit stall. He'll have to back up just a little bit. 4 tires and fuel for some. Seth Frazier only taking 2. And the pallbearer special back out on racetrack as he entered the race on the pit lane as the leader. By the way, update on the car number 54 of Rob Gamble. Too many incident points on the car number 54. He had to go down the pit lane for a stop and go penalty before we had this accident with BJ Tidrick. There you see the burgundy and black number 54 as here comes more cars. Corey Walters and others onto the pit lane taking on service as well. But that's what happened to Gamble. Again, too many incidents involved in so many cautions, and in doing so, Justin and Greg, that is why he had to come down to the pits for a stop and go penalty. A tough break for the 54.
Very tough break because that was before lap 50. The incident limit tonight is 24. Definitely to keep in mind now, with that now being factored in, a couple air drivers actually who were involved in every single hour caution having to do the same. Believe we've seen Stabnow do it. We also seen Paulison have to come down during green flag stops. Dan Lowther also has had to come down once, so that's why some of them are up in front for waiver rounds. While others like Kane are saying, you know what, I want track position.
Tyler King staying out there. That's a gutsy move. I don't think he's been on pit road yet, except for... Actually, no, he has, because he
was involved in cautions. He's down the lane 6 times.
So, yeah, he has been off and on pit road. So, you know what? Hey, might as well give it a shot. See what you get. If you can get yourself back up front and see if you can get things to settle down here. If you keep catching cautions the way they've been coming, who knows? That might work out for King.
It actually might be the smart call for now because he pit on the last caution. There was only a couple laps. Not going to be too much of a difference. Yes, the fall off is massive here, Greg. 2 seconds, but if he can hold on for at least the first 10-15, he might be in the top 10 by everything cycling out as long as he doesn't get moved out of the way or taken 7 wide.
Yeah, so that's the key. Don't take him any wider than you have to here. Lights are out on the pace car, so we're about to find out what's going to happen here. Going to be interesting with Dan West Jr. in 3rd. That's the guy who I'm going to be watching on this restart. West Jr. led the most laps so far today. I'm watching him from 3rd.
Green flag is out, and a massive stack up. The 34 gets shuffled the worst out of it. Both the West family racing cars got involved as well. We stay green as Kane is left out to dry.
Anderson and Frazier both able to clear. Move Seth Frazier back to the lead. Outside lane seems to be cooking right now. Oh, King pushed up the track. That allows West Jr. to capitalize as Chris White was trying the outside lane. King pushed up and that caused him to stack up. Now West catches the apron and he slides up the track in front of 53 of Chris White. 2 turns in a row. Someone pushed up in front of Chris White in the 83.
Battle for the race, the lead is on. Meanwhile, Caden Anderson side by side with Seth Frazier. Can he take the lead for the first time? Yes. Frazier gives it to him. Frazier trying to diamond into the grass and able to check up. Just held on to it on the corner exit. And now it is Anderson up in the lead. Both the West family cars are 3-4 after a crazy start.
Crazy restart, but now the young man that called his shot to me earlier today, Caden Anderson, he just took the lead.
Taking a look, meanwhile, at KC Garber, one of the big storylines of the night. We've seen such bad luck for this number 94 machine in just about every single one of his starts this season. Tonight, it's actually gone just about all his direction. One of the quickest cars in practice up until Dan West Jr. bumped him off the top of the board in the final 5 minutes. Now he's up 16 positions after not setting a time in qualifying, and it's one of the fastest cars on the track.
He loves this racetrack. He's another one, Justin, who has been very, very strong at this racetrack over the course of it being on the iRacing server. We all went in day this track came out, and Casey has always been one of the fastest drivers in our group. To see him up in the top 10 right now after not qualifying to crack.
Taking a look at the number 34 machine, this is Dennis Moore, was involved in that bit of a stack-up effect. Still holding on for the time being, though, for P6, the Moore Brothers Racing machine. Again, how in a solid race. Currently, though, his pace about 1/10 of a second off the cars in front. It's in the same ballpark, though, if not quicker than everybody else. So, he's the layer of the 18 3s to 6s. The cars in front are in the 18 2s to high 18 2s at the moment, including your fight for second.
Frazier in the second spot right now. In the 32, trying to hold on with Wes Jr. in. Remember, Wes Jr. led a lot of the opening stages of this one, but Frazier got around him. But just when it looked like Frazier was going to be able to check out, Caden Anderson came in and said hello, and he took the lead.
Should note that Bruce Lee Weaver is now out of the race. Jeff Stabnow has also been in the garage area since the last caution for more than 6 minutes. So, couple drivers with some attrition so far. We haven't even reached halfway in this race so far. Meanwhile, should note that Brightsman has now picked up a bit of pace. He's now reeled in Dennis Moore for that fight for 6th.
7th place, Sean Brightsman trying to make it back up there in that number 46, going after Dennis Moore, who, again, we talked about him a little bit earlier, Justin, having a nice run in the 34, but Brightsman getting up on the back bumper, under the bottom. Here he comes side by side for 6th.
Making it look fairly easy on the apex, but again, so much momentum you can carry down on the outside line around here. And if you don't get clear by apex, you have to give that space. If you don't give the space, you likely get a bump from behind. That time, just Brightsman able to roll his way on by.
So move Brightsman into 6th, trying to reel in now Chris White in 5th, but he's got a lap car in the way. That's Dan Lowther in the number 63. BJ Tidrick hanging out there in 8th right now after having his little incident earlier. Still got the damage on that 72 car, so he didn't use the fast repair yet. He's got Garber on his outside, though. Casey Garber trying to close in.
Garber did get shuffled a bit with Burke. Now has been able since then to pass him on back and is quickly gaining some time still in this grouping. He's only 1/10 of a second off the pace of the leaders, and for Tidrick, this has been much needed. We talked about him having momentum for about the summertime months. Lost some of that momentum recently, but now is starting to harness it back as long as he doesn't get into another caution flag like that spin before he had, as they now try and work around Frank Harris's demolished car.
Another modified there, Frank Harris, and he's going to inherit the lead of that division now with Stabnow out of the race as Tidrick gets around him. He's in 8th, trying to reel in more. Not missing anything up front as Anderson is 2 seconds ahead now of Frazier.
Should note that John Ombacher down the back straightaway spun off into the grass and hit the Armco after Stefan O'Hare tried to make it 3 wide, diamonded underneath him, and then accidentally tapped him on the left rear into the grass. He's still rolling, though. That's the bright side for him. The downside is he's about to be 1 lap down. We also have an RDNF on the night. Stabnow is done for the evening. He has parked it.
Remember, he is locked into the playoffs on points right now, so he can afford to just, you know what, I'm just going to glosses on this one and call it a night. But Caden Anderson is lap traffic now. Dan Stussy going a lap down. Robert Gamble up there. He's several laps down. He's going to go 3 down now to Anderson. So as Anderson begins to pick his way through traffic, he's got to be careful here.
Here's Chris White, meanwhile. He's got another new look tonight. We've seen him throw back to Jimmy Johnson for the past few weeks or so. Tonight, more so a classic Interstate Synthetics look, but not his normal look, where he had a bit more of a blue and red car. It's now just about a full black and red car with some gray accents.
So new look for Chris White, and he's been a driver, Justin, who's changed his look quite a few times this season, like you mentioned, and lately he's been running some Jimmy Johnson tributes, but kind of a simple black, silver, and red 83 Mustang tonight, like you talked about there. So still got the AM Soil logo on board, but different look for him now after paying tribute to Jimmy Johnson for a couple races, trying to reel in Devin West right now in the 4th spot, closing in 6th. So another good run for Chris White. 2 wins on the season. He's another one who's locked into the playoffs.
By the way, he's top 6 in his lap times, the average past 10. Wesley, you're standing by in the pits, though, on the 24.
I was able to grab a word with Jeff Stabnow before he exited, and he just point blank said, not a good night here for me here at North Wilkesboro. It's best just to get out, back away, let this race continue on, run its course. I'm in the playoffs, so I can leave here with my head on my shoulders and a smile on my face, knowing that in over a month's time, I have a shot to run for the championship. So a bad night for the Waltz Beard Co. LSR TV Ford for Montana's Jeff Stabnow, but he'll be back next week. And again, ready for the playoffs October 19th at Atlanta.
Thank you very much, Wesley. Still looking at this battle. Keep in mind, some of these drivers are locked in on points in this grouping. Others, though, are not yet. Devin West, remember, needs valuable points with the 7 drop sort. He is 12th in the standings. Mind you, that is around that mark with all the race winners that he'll have to deal with. So Devin West needs to fight his way on points. If he can't get a win in the final 4 races, that time he's just pushed up the hill and has to fight now for 2 spots lost.
As West fights on the out, and he's able to get one of those back as Breitzman got front, but Breitzman gets him back now. That is the battle for 5th, and the top 5 right now, Breitzman trying to get up there, and Breitzman very quietly has the most wins in this series so far this season, Justin, but damage, and quite a bit of it, to the tail end of that car, around the left rear of Breitzman. So trying to make his way up there, but a lot of cars with damage early. Several cars have already used their fast repair, and some of them have used their fast repair and gotten more damage to go with it.
We're around that mark where the cars are expected to start to get a little bit on the looser end. Now on our longest run of the race, 33 laps plus under green. Your race lead is extended for Caden Anderson in all this by more than 3 seconds. He is now up to a 10th to 2 laps quicker than second place on back.
Anderson, and he is saying, or he is standing up to what he's saying right now. As he said, this is my best track. I'm going to win this race. He is doing a very nice job of it. Qualified 3rd. Took him a little bit to get up front there, Justin, but once he did, it's been smooth sailing for the 37.
By the way, you just seen the 78 just ducked down last time by down the pit lane. It's been a rough night for him. Just jumped out of the cockpit. He is done for the night and joins Bruce Lee Weaver and Jeff Stabnow up in the press boxes watching along from the edge of the first Union Victory lane circle. Now I'm curious, though, at this point, with how much traffic is starting to build up around here, how this all plays out, because in theory, drivers can make it just about-ish on the fuel. Will the tires survive, though, if this continues to run green, and can you even bank on that?
We'll see. I don't know, Justin. That's kind of a very gutsy call here, but this is far and away our longest green flag run. So the longer we get into this run, maybe some drivers are beginning to think that after having the cautions breed cautions first 50 laps.
Based on your experience, how big is going for a pit stop under green for the one stop if it's got a long run compared to going for the no stop?
Very, very difficult, Justin, because getting on the pit road here is so treacherous, like we've talked about earlier. If you want to go for the one-stop strategy, you want to try to get it under caution. Pitting under green here is very, very difficult. So if that's what you're going to try to do, you want to try to catch a caution. And some of these drivers, again, have already pitted under this caution. Everyone's been on pit road at least once, so now they're starting to think about if they go the rest of the way. But I think if we catch a caution, you'll see guys come down the road. But until then, I don't really know what we're going to see.
The interesting point to bring up, by the way, in all this, Greg, is there is a testing ground. There was official racing right before the beginning of Week 14 of the iRacing service at North Wilkesboro. Open competition, it was 150 laps. About the run we're at if it stays green from here. And there were positives and negatives to that call we were just discussing a little bit on top of that to add to this, where if you think it's going to go green, or you're likely potentially taking the one stop because you can gain a full lap on the fresher tires with the amount of fall off. But the downside is, if you go for that, exactly what you mentioned, you get a caution flag, you have the chance of losing your lap as a result.
And we saw that in another podcast. Wednesday night, the Outlaw Super Late Monsters brought to you by Swag. We saw stops begin in 2 straight pit cycles.
Trouble.
About halfway
Tedrick gets turned.
Caution.
BJ Tedrick gets turned around hard into the fence. Caution is out. And that was help from the 34 while trying to get around traffic. I think he came across the nose of the 34 trying to get around Ottenbacher.
See West Jr. or Devin West slow there as well. They're going to try to get around West on the outside. Tedrick kind of stuck in the middle there. Backs out of it there to try to avoid making it 3 wide. Nice move there by Tedrick. And they just get together going into 1 there. And Garber just barely gets a piece of that.
Big ricochet for Tedrick, and it's just been his luck the past couple weeks, but throw everything we just discussed out the window for now because pit stops underway, Wesley.
Yeah, that's right. Here they come. That entire long green flag run strategy that you referred to is now gone and null, as here comes cars, including Dan West Jr., 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, 2-can splash, a tear off of the windshield, and look at Caden Anderson. I think he only took 2 tires. He'll exit off the racetrack. Here comes Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, the race off pit road, Caden Anderson. He called his shot like Babe Ruth calls his shot in the World Series when he played ball. And tonight, he is trying to win the race, even though he has not got enough points to make it into the playoffs. We'll try to see what that strategy is on the 37 here in just a moment.
Indeed, and when you can't run for the playoffs, why not go for the race win? Greg.
Gotta run for it, and I thought I lost internet for a second, but we're back as Caden Anderson trying to lead the way, taking the gambles, and doing a nice job right now.
Of course, this pit lane is very tight, and of course, the pace laps are very quick. One car who was in contention did get pinned a lap down along with several others. Garber and Walters have lost a lap because they came out behind the pace car for the respective service. Believe though Wesley is standing by in the garage on the radio.
Caden Anderson, Wesley Allen, LSR TV. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Man, you are doing a phenomenal job, but you just took a 2-tire stop. What's the strategy, and what's your thoughts of trying to go for your second win on the series, even though you do not have enough wins to go to the playoffs?
I took a 4-tire stop there, but my strategy is just to win every race I can. Obviously, I can't make it to in the championship, but now it's just about winning races.
And again, that is also by virtue of the points, guys, because he does not have what he needs in the top 20 to be able to make it. But again, that strategy looking good. Why the 2-tire stop as we get ready to come back to green?
I took 4 actually. Sorry about that.
You did. You took 4.
Yes.
Okay, cool deal. I looked at a glance and I thought it was 2, and you pulled out, and I thought maybe that's what you did. But go get him. You're coming back to green. That's Caden Anderson, Justin, as we come back for the restart here at North Wilkesboro, approaching halfway.
Back underway is Dan West Jr. caught sleeping. What a start by Seth Frazier, though. Trying to go side by side as the crowd goes wild. Halfway this time.
Halfway this time by for Anderson, who has had a very nice run on 4 fresh gear tires. But here comes West Jr. trying to get a run to the outside. Meanwhile, look at the outside back there. Chris White trying to get a run as Frazier, all that momentum that he had on that initial start suddenly washed right back out as Chris White comes back to him.
Trouble in the corner. James Vining is against the Armco barrier. He's now pulled it onto the tow truck. And a black flag as well for Dan Lowther for the incident points as well.
So tough one there for Dan Lowther, and it's been an up and down day for a lot of drivers who we've seen with a lot of speed out of lately, including the likes of Jeff Stabnow as well. BJ Tidrick having the incident there to put us under that last swag caution, and he's still in the top 10 right now, but still quite a bit of damage on Tidrick's car as he has yet to use that fast repair. He's battling with Stephen O'Hare right now to try to stay in the top 10, but a lot of damage on the 72.
Indeed, as he lets some cars go, has some clean space now to duck down off to the pit lane. But towards the front, this peels machine has been, well, trying to peel layers of positions away from in front of him. He's been willing to be aggressive on corner entry, and it's now got him up back to P9. He's been shuffled about as far back as the end of the teens.
That just shows you, Justin, the kind of racing this track produces. You can be up in the top, having a good run, and all of a sudden one thing happens, and all of a sudden you're shuffled back. That's why we talked about in the pre-race, track position was so important here in this race. You have to maintain traction the entire race because it's going to be so hard to get it back.
Absolutely. Ricky Bozier, by the way, in that grouping as well. Roy Grande, Dennis Moore, Joshua Marcy. But of course, we mentioned Casey Garber actually just got the chance to get a wave around because of where he came out with the pace car. He's about to try and pounce in this respective grouping as well. They're expected to reach some traffic in the next lap or two as well to use his picks.
Anderson trying to get up there, talking about Garber in the number 94. Remember, Justin, he had climbed from 26 to inside the top 10 before that happened. So Garber trying to make his way back up. He's the last car on the lead lap right now, and he's 2 seconds back of the next car in that number 18 of Roy Grande. But Garber, no, we have some speed in that 94 car tonight. So with that being said, he's still got almost an entire half of the race to go. He might not be out of the question just yet, as one car on pit road, it's the 34 of Dennis Moore pitting from the lead lap.
And he might have gotten in the incident points as well. Remember, been involved in a couple caution flags, so he now ducks down to the pit lane. Again, it's a very strict pit incident limit today. He did have contact with Roy Grande that may have triggered it a couple laps ago off turn 4.
So an up and down day continuing here. Dennis Moore had such a strong race going in that number 34, but the problem is, like you said, the contact there with Grande has put him back on pit road, and he's already back going again, but he is a couple of laps down now. He's one lap down, back on pit road again in that number 34. So he's having to do some of these manual repairs right now as he's off and on pit road. Actually, I believe he may have gotten a penalty and had to serve a pass.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. But one of the main things I want to mention with that pit lane is it comes out on the exit in the middle of the racetrack. So some of these cars, especially your leaders, if more cars have to serve penalties, have to be aware, oh, hey, there's a car about to exit the pit lane. I better not take it to the low sign on the corner entry this time.
So, well, one car pushing up the track in the wall, but that was Frank Harris in the number 11, the modified, catching the wall, I believe, going into turn number 1, right in front of BJ Tidrick. Harris is 6 laps down. Remember, he was on his lid earlier today, so you got to give the tenacity award to Frank Harris right now.
Yeah. We've been following along, by the way, with the 55 machine for the past couple laps. He's pulled away by about a second or so from Seth Frazier and company. He is a tenth or so quicker than that group. The problem is, he's slower than Caden Anderson by about a couple 100ths.
And with Anderson faster every lap, the lead is going to increase 1.1 seconds at this time last time by. The good news for West Jr. is Anderson is beginning to creep up on some lap traffic ahead. I believe that's either Gamble or it's Gamble in the number 54 closing in. So Anderson in the number 37 beginning to creep up on some lap traffic here.
Want to go towards Frank Harris because it's getting scary for him, because Ottenbacher nearly ran him over last time by. He went to the grass in turn 3. That car has also hit the wall on the outside 3 times since the green flag's flown in this stretch. It's not a pretty race right now for Harris, and this could cause problems for drivers even like Walters, who is down on speed too.
And Caden Anderson is about a straightaway back of Harris right now. So if that continues by the time the leader gets up there, this could get very, very interesting.
They're quickly catching up to him, by the way, as well. Walters is about a few car lengths back, and they're actually reeling in Paulson as well. There's the leader you see to the very edge of the picture. Last shot by, coming towards 81 laps to go. By the way, a couple drivers are starting to move up the pylon in all of this. Should note Brightsman did pass Devin West last time by. Brad Carpenter is inside the top 10, though, after his rough race at Auto Club.
And Carpenter's had a very nice run. Started 18th, and like you said, he's up in the top 10 now. He's in 7th place. And like we talked about in the pre-race, he is a short track racer out of the four-cylinder scene here in the Northwest. It's been a while since we've seen him behind the wheel here in the Northwest, but he has been very strong in his starts on iRacing. A win at Iowa in the Northwest Tour last season, and here he is making his second start in the Cup Series, and he's having a very nice run of that as well. Up in the top 10, trying to get Devin West right now for the 6th position, so nice run for Brad Carpenter.
He's one of the quicker cars on the track too, by the way. He is in the same realm as the race leaders on the long run. Here's the thing, he's only finished one race this season. 7 starts before tonight, 6 DNFs at Las Vegas, Rockingham, Texas, Homestead, Bristol, and Auto Club. Richmond was the only race he finished where he finished 15th with 12 incident points. His cleanest race of the season. That's the bright side if you're a fan of the 31.
Very much so, as he's trying to close in on West for the 6th spot. Stephen O'Hare is got about a second and a half, or a second behind the next car position-wise, which is Carl Burke, the lap car of Dennis Moore behind him right now. Those are teammates. As Carpenter took a shot at Devin West going into turn 3 there, but had to check up there in the entry to the corner, and unfortunately was not able to get up there. Caden Anderson, meanwhile, is up with Frank Harris now. He's trying to pass the 11 of Harris. This is what we talked about. He's gotten him cleared. But back comes Harris on the outside, and Anderson able to continue. So Anderson dodges that bullet there we were talking about possibly having to encounter.
And Harris once again uses the wall to help him turn the race car. It's not been a pretty entry for him in turn 1. Want to go back to that gaggle of race cars, though, because you may have noticed O'Hare grouped him on in. O'Hare has been at times the quickest car on the racetrack. He's gone up to half a tenth quicker than the race leader here and there over the past 15 laps. So he's got the pace. He just does not have the track position on the long run since he is 6 seconds behind Anderson.
Trying to get up there right now and reel in Carpenter and West is that Stephen O'Hare that we talked about, sitting in 8th place. Lost 2 tenths to Anderson there as he tries to reel in some guys in front of him, Carpenter and West. Checking in with Seth Frazier in the number 32. He's still sitting in 3rd, about half a second in front of Chris White in the number 83. Brightsman hit lurking there as well. He's up in the top 5, and you know if this race comes down to a strategy call late, we already pretty much know exactly what Brightsman's going to do to try to get some strategy here. Another car behind the wall, loaded up on the trailer. It's James Vining in the 333, the Catman calling in tonight. As a battle brewing for 3rd now as Chris White took a stab at Frazier.
Tried to take a peek towards it, but not quite yet. Tried to use the traffic as a pick of Paulison. Got to get by quickly and cleanly, though, in that grouping. So, again, we're reaching that magic mark of lap 35-ish. This is, again, up in the realms of our longest runs, and speak of the devil, Brad Carpenter gets wrecked this time for the caution.
So the good run gone bad for Carpenter here. Let's take a look at the swag replay. What put us under this rendition of a swag yellow flag. You see O'Hare take a shot there. Carpenter getting very close to the apron there, so wondering if maybe he caught the apron again here in turn number 3 and 4. Gets a nice run there on Devin West, and just barely gets together with him, and I want to see what happened with West there to finish that off. As Carpenter spun out, I want to see if West was able to hang on to that in the number 5. Let's take another look, Justin.
I believe he actually did, but the main thing is he was starting to struggle a little bit. That's why Carpenter had reeled him in a little bit before. You see right here, sent it way too strong to the entry, pushes up the hill, but just as he hits the gas, Carpenter did just a little too tight her up. West holds onto it, just avoids the wall and drifts it all the way to the top.
What a job by Devin West in the 5 car. We got cars on pit road, but man, can you just imagine what Stephen O'Hare was thinking there?
Absolutely. Pit stops have also taken place during this caution flag, by the way, except for a couple drivers who are towards the back of the line, Ricky Bozier, Roy Grande, who are going to duck down. It's been an interesting race, Wesley, for the strategy, 67 to go.
Yeah, for sure. Here comes the drivers that are a lap down or more coming in for service now. Roy Grande in a very special camouflage-looking number 18. BJ Tidrick, the Darlington winner, coming on. Stephen Paulison, Marcy, all these drivers exiting off the pit lane after having service done. And again, mired in the back. Stefan O'Hara, the 42 car, actually getting work being done. You see that shot of that beautiful-looking car. As we're coming in on the final 65 laps remaining here at North Wilkesboro. Had its share of long green flag runs to the cycle of the cautions. And now we approach the final 50 laps of this event, and I think it's time to Katie bar the door, Greg Ranson, Justin Prince, to decide who's going to be the winner for the only visit at historic North Wilkesboro this season for the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. And by the way, speaking of all the cool things that iRacing has done in the most recent Week 13 update, Greg and Justin, the atmosphere, electric virtually here at North Wilkesboro. I love the ambiance of the sound, the roaring crescendo of the crowd, the boos sometimes, and the echoing of the loudspeakers of some of the public address announcements. Yeah, you might not be able to understand clearly what it means, but honestly, when you get 40 screaming cup cars on a track like Wilkesboro back in the day, you might have heard something under caution, but then it was a distant echo. Just some of the new amenities that iRacing has done to enhance the experience for the fan and the driver.
Want to go signal this time, and you make a great point, Wesley, in terms of the ambient sounds. One of the many additions that came during the new iRacing build for the past week, just prior to the truck race at Eldora. About to get back in array. Take a listen, the crowd's about to go wild. And stuff like that is what makes this track electric, not just on the track, but on the outskirts of the track in the stands.
Someday, Justin, me, you, Wesley, we're all going to get to go watch a race at this racetrack. You just got to keep believing that something is going to come along. So Knight in Shining Armor is going to show up, and this track is going to be restored to its former glory.
Well, Greg, if you remember, back in 2005, 2006, they actually brought Rebirth back to the North Wilkesboro Speedway and actually had the privilege of working that event with the old USA Cars Tour. What used now the Cars Tour was the USARA Cup Series, what used to be the Hooters Pro Cup Series. They had a race there. They had the past super late models there. So it's not that it can't happen. It's just a matter of somebody that wants to pony up the dough and make it a reality again.
You make that great point there, Wesley, too. Should note that during that secondary rebirth, several drivers you see up at the top levels, mind you, in motorsports took place in some events there. Whether it's in the Xfinity Series today or some Cup drivers have all gotten the chance in the most recent years to race at this respective racetrack, especially with some of the events there and some of the chances for cars to win. It even at one point held something called the race, where several different drivers from 21 states and 5 provinces tried to qualify to a 44-car field in 2011 here.
That's right. It was a Pro All-Star Series event. It was called the race. And if I remember correctly, I think Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott ended up winning that deal. That's how long ago it was. But it was a special event, $75,000 to win. Tom Mayberry of the past series put it on. And again, and even you might not believe this if you're watching. I know it looks like it's daytime, but Justin, for that event called the race, they brought in portable lights as well to run it under the lights.
We actually had one of our main late model drivers, a staple of our racing scene here in the Northwest. Garrett Evans went to that race. So we have some Northwest ties to that track, and right now we're writing another chapter of it with this one.
Some of the other drivers who took place in that race, by the way, Ross Kenseth, you had Chris Eggleston among the contenders, Bubba Pollard, Eric Darnell, Cale Gale, Jeff Bodine, Greg Gaulding actually ran in that race. Sterling Marlin also ran in that race. It was one of the last races at this racetrack.
And by the way, Justin, you just mentioned Ross Kenseth. It was announced today on Speed 51 that he will be running the Snowball Derby in December.
That's actually huge to see him back in the race car. Of course, got some chances in the Xfinity Series a few years ago. Speaking of huge, the gap between P1 and P2 is 6/10. The gap between P2 and P3 is already about 1 second.
Coming up on the final quarter of this race. Fourth quarter here coming up in just a couple laps at Wilkesboro. Caden Anderson has had to pick his way through a little bit of lap traffic here, but he's clean and green now as he's gotten around Ottenbacher, with West Jr. getting by as well. But Anderson and West, they're pretty even right now, but 7/10 of a second the separation at this time.
About even on pace once again. Keep in mind that some of the drivers involved in the recent caution flag did get a chance to use a faster pair. Brad Carpenter has quickly recovered to 11th position. Actually recently just passed Ricky Belcher in the past couple laps, you note, in the 31. Also among the drivers quickly moving up from earlier mistakes, Casey Garber up to 8th, Carl Burke is back up to 9th.
And Burke is having a quiet run, but he's been in the top 10 for most of it in that number 53 car. He's kind of lurking back with Garber right now, just kind of hanging back there, waiting for his opportunity to strike as Garber battles with Stephen O'Hare in the number 41 for the 7th position. Burke kind of just hanging back there waiting if something happens.
Couple drivers just joined the DNF list, should note. Dan Lowther, James Vining are done for the night. Robert Gambill's also parked his car since the last caution flag. 21 cars are still rumbling on the track. One thing to note as that discussion happened, as we were showing on screen, Devin West showed the example of cars getting loose as this run goes on. He's back in 15th position, last car on the lead lap because of that.
So with that, he fell back again outside the top 15. The good news for him is he's the last car on the lead lap, so he has no one to worry about behind him until the leader gets to him, as he can try to pull them in. The bad news is it's over a second before he gets to BJ Tidrick.
His pace just about half a tenth to a tenth of a second quicker for now. We'll have to see how it all factors in. The battle is on for P4, should note, between the purple cars. Seth Frazier. Oh, yes! In the words of Wesley, I'm not good on that crack. I'm not good at that voice crack.
He did it!
John Brightsman's LSR TV machine going on. Was there a bet on that?
No, I'm just so happy he actually did it, and Wesley didn't even get to hear it because he's down there on pit road. Wesley, you missed it. Justin did this pallbearer.
Oh, I missed it. Oh, yes. And by the way, speaking of a driver that's not doing well, Devin West, I was checking in on him while you did your famous Paul Bearer impression, and a problem for the number 5. He says, and I quote, guys, North Wilkesboro is just not my place to race. I am tight and loose. I feel like the car, I'm fighting it. I'm just going to back out of the way and let these guys have it out tonight at Wilkesboro. Now, can you do it again? Can I hear it?
Oh, yes! Better?
It needs a little bit of work. Needs a little bit of work.
We'll get it. Here comes Frazier in the number 3. Oh, Frazier gets to the wall. And Chris White in the wall. Gamble, more, and there goes Frazier.
Hard crash.
No.
And as Wesley said, oh no indeed, caution is out. And several drivers involved in the top 5 all race demolished.
That's huge. Saw that building up, going through lap traffic. We're taking a look at the swag replay. Going through lap traffic, Frazier gets a good run right there. Nowhere to go, and Chris White there. He hits the wall, comes to a dead stop, and then Moore sends Frazier for a ride. And yikes.
Mega yikes. Frazier banked the faster pair for good reason. See if Brightsman banked his. Going to also be curious as well, though, if White has a faster pair with how hard that car hit, likely and motor damage. But pit stops are underway, Wesley. Might be one of the final times.
Hey, I think this could possibly be the money stop. BJ Tidrick, by the way, overshot pit lane, his pit stall, and he continued to roll onto the racetrack. Here comes cars beaten, damaged, mangled as Dan West Jr. leaves the pit lane. So does Sean Brightsman. Here comes Caden Anderson. New fast repair on the car 32 of Seth Frazier. All of these drivers beaten, battered, and banged, all tore up. Luckily, they got a mulligan. A fresh new repair fast repair as they get ready for the final 40 laps here. And this could possibly be the money stop for many drivers that could go the distance to the checkered flag.
Couple gambles in this sequence. Devin West stayed out, Dan West Jr. and Sean Brightsman on 2 tires. So the strategy cards are open. We'll talk a little bit more about the strategy cards just after this. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing for Northwest Cup Series action. It's the North Wilkesboro 200, live on LSR TV.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Go here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing, as the Northwest Cup Series sees a West Family Racing 1-2 call. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Owen in the pits, Charles Wooden in the director's seat. 2 bold calls set up your front runners, but one driver had a big moment in that caution. Seth Frazier is standing by with Wesley Owen on the radio.
Hey Seth, it's Wesley, LSR TV. What's your take on what happened? And thank goodness you got a fast repair.
I tried to get down in front of Brightsman, got into Chris there on accident, and tried to let him gather it up. And I think I got into him too hard, and he lost it, and then I got ran over. So that was all my fault.
Still a lot of racing left to go, though. Keep an eye on Seth Frazier as he has a new fast repair as we get ready to come for the restart of the home stretch here at North Wilkesboro.
The pallbearer will charge from P11. Devin West on old tires will charge from the lead. Green flags back out. And 2 drivers on 2 tires, freight training them. West Jr. on the outside. Brightsman trying to do it on the bottom, Greg.
Brightsman trying to get around Devin, but doesn't get the run, which allows Anderson to get a run on the top. But West is going to push up in front of Anderson, dive down to the bottom. Here comes Carl Burke to the inside. The good news for Anderson is now he's going to have the preferred lane as Burke with a big slide. Anderson gets the spot away. Burke trying to save it. He does. So now Anderson is going to have to try to reel in Brightsman and West Jr., who are both on 2 tires. Was that the money stop?
At the C, as caution is out, Audenbacher, Walters, a couple other cars shot up the track in turn 3, while BJ Tidrick had to serve an incident penalty point during the green flag run. That may have saved him about an extra lap, but it's the 9 among the drivers involved in the caution flag this time.
Under caution once again. Here we take a look at the swag replay deep in the field. Right there, Walters just catches the apron and nowhere for him to go except right to the wall. And Ottenbacher is just an innocent bystander there for that one.
All while the friendly wave comes from Stephen Paulison, who dodges both of them, but stacks us back up. And that was to be expected by staying out on 20-plus lap older tires. Devin West got freight train up back to 60, went quickly on that one.
That's the old tires with the damage also on that number 5 car. So you see there on the tail end of the car, a lot of damage as well to the 5 cars. So with that, it is definitely showing what the tire advantage is. So now here's the question, Justin. I'm checking back into the 37 of Anderson. Got around Devin. He's got 4 fresh tires as opposed to West and Brightsman, who are both on 2. But now Anderson's going to be right there with them in the number 37. Can he get up around them on this restart? By the way, look who's up to 4th. Josh Marcy. We haven't talked about him all day, but he's up in the top 5.
And he's on 4 tires as well. So he's in a good situation here as well to potentially pounce on those top 2. By the way, the reason we've seen Burke so loose, remember, took to himself to get up to 7th spot. Nearly spun it twice. Bozier also took 2 tires. He's starting in 10th position once we get back underway. Look on the bright side, the crowd really likes seeing these cars under caution. They're cheering a lot right now.
Under caution here. Going to be roughly 30 laps to go here in this one when we go back green. So Justin, crunch time here, nitty gritty. What's your picks on what's going to happen here at the end?
Well, Caden Anderson's in the best situation. I think he's likely my pick. If that doesn't work out, though, and it works out the way Devin West may hope, it might be West's race to lose if we get enough of a long enough run for the tires to wear enough where the 5 could take them, Greg, and potentially win this race. Who's your pick, then, as we get one to go?
I don't know. We've seen Brightsman be able to capitalize so many times on strategy call, but I love what I've seen out of that 37 car today. I got to go with Anderson.
Wesley, quickly your pick.
Stay with the man out in front, guys. Dan West Jr., a wealth of momentum, won at Eldora last Thursday night for the trucks on dirt. Another short track as it comes to green. He's my pick in 55 to bring it to the home.
And a good launch for him indeed as well. Off and away. Anderson, though, using those 4 freshies to rotate off the corner. Still can't get side by side with Brightsman quite yet, but does have the preferred bottom groove with Brightsman sliding up.
Brightsman sliding up the track as Anderson tries to get to the bottom. We've seen Brightsman use that 2-tire strategy time and time again, but it might not work this time as Anderson is just so strong right now.
Yeah, Anderson just so good on rolling the corner right now. Once again, side by side, a little bit closer though on the corner exit compared to the last time. Brightsman's losing the time on the 2 tires right at apex, but that run off the corner again helps him keep it on forward. A little bit higher up this time might hurt him a little bit. And car trouble. Bozier gets spun around. Kane around. And we're back on our yellow as Carpenter and Paulison also collected in all of it.
Carpenter and Paulson collected. Anderson was in front of Brightsman when the caution came out, so he should get the second spot here.
That helps him as we take a look at the swag replay. It was getting hectic because they were trying really hard to try and get around West. But once they got to turn 3, this led to an apology by the 44 because of, well, both of them getting loose and hitting either the apron or nearly spinning it.
So multi-car accident there. Tyler King's bad night continues in the number 44. Tough break as we are back live here on LSR TV. So with Anderson getting second now, he's going to have the outside perhaps. And Justin, Anderson has really been good on the high side, just about as good as the inside. So he may have the advantage here. What he's got to be careful of is don't fall in that same trap that Frazier fell in earlier today with that jump restart.
Should note that Devin West did take tires, while John Annenbacher was your lucky dog to his caution flag, so we're back up to 15 cars in the lead lap. Is that enough laps, though, you think, for West to be able to really take advantage of it?
I don't know. With the fall off that we've seen today, I think that might be too long to try to go for it. I think Dan West Jr. and Sean Brightsman made that call thinking that that was going to be it. It was going to go green from there. I think with this second caution on this cycle of tires, I think they may have just put themselves in trouble.
See if this ends up going the way it potentially could. Of course, a couple drivers able to take advantage and take some extra stops for damage repair and more tires, such as Carpenter. Annenbacher will also be now on that same call. With that lucky dog, Ricky Bozier and Tyra King, of course, had some repairs to do with Bozier already using his fast repair before, and Kane, well, the American Touch machine needs a lot of touching up. Still, though, I'm curious about some drivers like KC Garber, who's now up to 7th, one of his highest spots of the night.
Up to 7th, KC Garber. Likes to get it done in crunch time, and here he is up in the top 10, but some very fast cars in front of him. But Garber likes this racetrack, so we'll see how it goes from here.
Once again, double them back up. Let's get back underway to reset your top 10. It's West Jr. Anderson, Brightsman and Marcy, White and Burke, Garber and O'Hare, Frazier and Torres, your top 10. Surprising to see the 99 with his bad luck up towards the front, but when you're able to stay on the lead lap and the amount of attrition tonight building up, you can take advantage for a valuable points night. Can Dan West Jr. get another big victory in the 55? Let's see. Pace car is off. We're back on our way. Anderson, perfect timing on the start.
That may work out perfectly for him, Justin. Oh, contact in the back. Carl Burke going up towards the wall. He hits the wall. A lot of damage, but we stay green. But Carl Burke, a lot of damage now to the 53.
Absolutely demolished and has lost the back lid. That was with contact with Chris White, who sent it up the inside. And more contact. It's Devin West around for the caution.
Caution out once again. We will try it one more time. Devin West around this time. Good run, gone bad, gone back good, back bad in a hurry.
And we'll take a look at the swag replay. And one of the main things to note on the pit entry line, say you go too low, there is a bit of a lip there. I believe the 5 tried to take a 3 and hit that lip right there, enough to destabilize him for this part of the track.
Just looped it right there. And look at Corey Walters sliding in after the fact. So Devin West, it's been a fight all day long. Tried to stay out just to go for it, but unfortunately not to be here this time around, as we're under caution again. Going to be 20 laps to go at the line. Mixed bag on pit road. Sean Brightsman coming down, and he's the only one on pit road, Wesley.
Yeah, Sean Brightsman taking a gamble. He's known for these 2-tire stops at the late rally. What will he do? 46 on the pit lane. Little damage on the rear end of the 46 car for LSR TV. And it will be 4 tires for the car number 46. Carl Burke with damage on 53 a moment ago, bouncing off the wall. He'll continue along. And gentlemen, as we mentioned, Devin West on old tires. Justin, might I add, you said. And he has been fighting in an ill-handling car. And as we approach 20 laps to go, it was bound to happen as he was bunched up with all of those fast cars trying to get around him. And here comes other cars on the pit lane a lap down or more with damage.
That's Walters and Bozier coming down the pit lane that time by. And should note, Devin West is done for the night. Again, to clarify, it was on new tires, yes. But there's also the gamble of, if you do that, you have to pass everyone cleanly. We made that point earlier, Greg. That was the example why you do it cleanly.
That's why you gotta do it clean. So here we go. We're gonna try this one more time. Inside 20 to go. Dan West Jr., Caden Anderson, Josh Marcy in 3rd, Chris White 4th, Casey Garber up in the top 5 now. Justin, he's in 5th.
Still lights on top of the pace car, but now, seeing what just happened, it's now Sean Brightsman, Carl Burke, and Brad Carpenter on the freshest tires in the field. The interesting thing is Burke elected to take 2 again, despite having a couple more laps on those tires and getting damage that sent him up into the wall. So those cars 11 and 12, all while John Audenbacher, Tyler King among the drivers who are on off-cycle tires as well, but hit the previous caution. So everyone else in front of them just about has been out since, well, 25 laps to go this time.
So closing stages here at Wilkesboro. Lights out on the pace car. Looks like it's setting up for a duel between West and Anderson. Remember, Anderson has worked with West Jr. a couple of times this season, the West Family Racing. Anderson's worked with him, so we're going to see here if he can do or pull it off here against the leader of West Family Racing tonight. Here we go, Justin, coming to green.
16 to go on the pylon. See how this all fares. Anderson with a short track tactic. Green flags out. Can Anderson keep it side by side? Answer is no. Again, West Jr. keeps him sleeping. All while Marcy didn't get going and Chris White nearly shoved up the hill.
Anderson tries to cross back under while that's going on. If these two have broken away, West Jr. a little bit of damage on that 55 car as Anderson tries to set him up. 15 laps to go this time by as Anderson tries to slide up the track, get a run in, but Chris White has closed in on Anderson. One car sliding in the back. It's Chris Torres. Caution.
Chris Torres in the 99 around for the caution flag yet again. And he got some help from John Audenbacher, not just once, but twice. As you'll see in the swag replay, this took a full set of corners to develop with how many hits he gave.
So here we go. It's Brightsman inside, O'Hare in front of him, and there's the tap from Audenbacher. Torres fights, and wall. And some airtime.
And Adam Bacher pays the price for it. And that's suspension damage too for Torres, so that may be his potential night done. So Adam Bacher coming in, King coming in for more damage repair, Torres with significant damage to shut the engine off, as he has now jumped out of the car for obvious reasons. So, another quick yellow. Again, another reason why, if you feel it's going to be caution precautions as a short track, you stay out. On the bright side, EJ Tedrick may get a chance to be in the top 10 as he's the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap. Only 13 cars before that caution flag were on that mark.
So this is going to be a wild finish here. Tedrick is suddenly back on the lead lap. Remember, he had a lot of speed in the early going. With him being back on the lead lap now, how much track position can he gain in that number 72 before this race is over?
It comes down to, I think, again, how crazy do you expect it to be for these final few laps? We'll be restarting with under 10 to go.
This one goes to 11, Justin.
Okay, so how many cautions a span of that sequence do you expect?
I'm going to say at least 2, possibly 3. I'm going to say we have to go to our final green-white checkered attempt.
We'll see if the commentator's curse kicks in or the commentator's luck kicks in. Sometimes it can go either way. Let's put it that way. 11 to go this time by. Top 10, Dan West Jr., Caden Anderson, Chris White. Then it is Frazier and Marcy. Garber back to 6th. O'Hare, Brightsman, Burke, Bozier, your top 10. Those are the drivers reeled in here. Should note Brad Carpenter got a penalty waived after he had to serve a penalty. That's why you've seen him down the lane. He's been allowed to keep on going. He is now 1 lap down, though, because he reached the infinite limit.
So this race definitely going about like what we expected. But honestly, I'm surprised, Justin. We had a couple of long green flag runs there in the middle, but the first quarter and here the fourth quarter have all been kind of wild and caution fests, but the middle of the stretch of the race was actually good.
Yeah, especially with those long 30-ish lap or so runs. But again, once you make sure you're out good on the fuel, you expect things to get wild at a short track on iRacing. 9 to go. Green flag coming this time by. 13 cars on the lead lap. Just one lap down, and everybody else several laps down, with just 16 cars still running. Dan West Jr. an early launch this time is off and away.
West Jr. trying to clear out, but Anderson coming down to the bottom, and he has to time that quickly because he had Chris White there. But look at the run. Anderson gets off turn number 2, going down into the inside. Anderson loves this racetrack. He pushes up the track just a hair, but they stay going right now. West still leads. Going to be 8 laps to go.
Tries to change up the line as Frazier and White try and fall behind. Garber's back up to P5 once again. West Jr. on the defensive, trying to take the very wide arc to almost keep Anderson pushing and guessing as Anderson clipped the grass in 3 and 4.
That could wind up costing him with just so little time left. Frazier coming back into number 32, up to 3rd. Garber hanging there in 5th, battling with Brightsman right now as Anderson does something, anything to try to get up there with Dan West Jr. Remember, West on 2 tires, Anderson on 4. 6 laps to go. Can Anderson get there?
Can Brightsman get there too? Remember, he pit a few cautions ago for fresh tires. He's up to 5th spot and is already on the back bumper of Chris White. So this could go any direction now. 5 to go this time by. High 5 from the flag stand.
West Jr. leading the way. Anderson trying the low line, and Seth Frazier there as well, applying the pressure. So Frazier trying to get up there. Sean Brightsman bringing the other purple car up. 4 laps to go. Here comes Brightsman crossing Chris White over for 4th place. He's got it going into turn number 1, but he pushes, and Chris White gets pushed up the track again, but Brightsman still gets the spot. Meanwhile, West Jr. pulling away from Anderson a little bit. 0.3 of a second as they come to 3 to go.
Can West Jr. hold on for a few more laps? There's the 3 to go signal. 3 cars separated by just 3 car lengths or so. The fight for P4 separates those cars out. It's between West Jr., Anderson, and Frazier as long as it stays green. There's the Jinxes. Garber's around on the back straightaway. Still no caution with 2 to go.
Still green for the time being. Remember, if you're off the racing surface, it will not trigger caution. That may be what happened to Garber. Tough break for him as he was so strong all day long. Coming to white flag this time. Anderson's going to have one more shot to try to get West Jr. White flag to the points leader.
Final lap. Can Dan West Jr. hold on for his third Cup Series victory of 2020? Might come down to the final set of corners. Anderson watches behind. One last charge. He can't get there. Frazier one last charge for second. Checker flag. Dan West Jr. wins his third race in the Northwest Cup Series in 2020, this time in North Wilkesboro.
Points leader gets it done. Third place, Seth Frazier rallies back for third. Couldn't quite get Caden Anderson, but great runs for these three drivers.
Dan West Jr.'s first win since the Charlotte Oval back in May. And last week, he was the bridesmaid. This time, he's the bride and gets to celebrate. What a finish for the 55.
And here comes the runners for the typical celebration here post-race in the Northwest Cup Series.
Listen to the crowd, guys. Listen to the crowd. They're just loving, cheering Dan West Jr. on as he picks up his third win of the Northwest iRacing Cup Series, and the Demo Derby's on the way on the front straightaway.
That was perfectly timed. Let's time up your unofficial race results on that mark as West Jr.'s car is demolished. He beats Caden Anderson by 0.3 of a second, while Seth Frazier finishes in third. More cars get launched in the sky as Brightsman finishes in fourth. White, O'Hare, Burke, Marcy, Tidrick, and Bozier was your top 10. By the way, the car that just launched up in the sky was Ottenbacher, who finished 11th, Greg.
Yeah, Ottenbacher's last car on the lead lap. First car one lap down was Brad Carpenter in 12th. Then Tyler King, Casey Garber, after such a great run, comes home 14th. Paulison, Harris, Chris Torres, after the roller coaster day he went on, finishes 17th. Corey Walters, Devin West, and Roy Grande, your top 20.
Look at the rest of the field. A lot of drivers DNF'd in this one. Dennis Moore, a contender early on, 43 laps down. Gambo parked it, 72 laps down. Dan Lowther, 98 laps down after several incidents tonight. James Vining, 100 laps down. Dan Stuzzi early on parked it with 25 in P25, 118 laps down. Bruce Lee Weaver only made it a quarter way through the race, so did Jeff Stabnow. They round out your running order. Ray Fournier once again at DNS. Rodney Goins elected not to start today's race as well at North Wilkesboro. But stick around, post-race coverage for the Northwest Cup Series will be coming up right after this. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Welcome everyone back for the Clan Wars post-race show. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. What a race tonight, and what a celebration as well. Perfectly choreographed by the purple cars who finished third and fourth. Leslie Ellen is standing by, in fact, with one of those drivers who finished in P3 tonight. Seth Frazier is with him.
Seth Frazier, a great way to redeem yourself after the problems that you had here tonight. Getting involved in an accident just before halfway, fixing that damage. A typical short track race tonight at North Wilkesboro. And by the way, congratulations, newlywed.
Well, thank you for the congrats on the wedding. She's let me race tonight, so things are going good so far. First of all, I need to apologize to Chris White for getting into him and wrecking him. That's not how I like to race. Chris is one of the best drivers in the league, especially short track wise, and it wasn't intentional. I just got into him and tried to give him a chance to gather it, but I got into him too hard. So that was all me. So I apologize for that.
A lot of people were even gambling up here in the broadcast booth thinking that there was going to be triple overtime, cautions, a lot of cautions in this event. But what was your take there of the final 13 laps, the final restart, and racing to the checkered flag cleanly?
Well, you never know with short track racing. As soon as you start trying to predict what's going to happen in short track racing, you're going to lose some money. So you never know what's going to happen. You just kind of go balls to the walls at the end of there and see what happens.
All right, third place. Thank your sponsors, and we appreciate you.
Well, I just thank Paul Bear for coming on board, and I need to thank Greg's pet goat for doing all the things that goat does for Greg, and that's pretty much it.
Greg's pet goat.
Oh, there's a story, but apparently it's mine now.
And now next week we prepare for Pocono. So we go from a short track like a 5/8 mile here at North Wilkesboro, and then prepare for a 2.5 mile at Pocono. What's your take as we get down to the home stretch going into the playoffs?
I've been trying some different things steering ratio wise and playing with some stuff, seeing if I can hit on something for a little bit more long run speed. Short run speed right now we're good. Long run speed I need to pick up some. So I'm going to play with some stuff at Pocono and see what happens.
And out of 19 starts tonight, Justin, he'll pick up his 5 wins. 11 top 5s will now become 12 and his 14th top 10 as he sits third in the standings. Driver of the car number 32, that's Seth Frazier. Third place on the podium here tonight at North Wilkesboro.
Thank you very much, Wesley. The man who finished in second in all of this was one of the more dominant cars of the night. Kenyon Anderson started up at the front, led on the long runs all evening, and led 101 laps. He's standing by with Greg Rentz, though, after he contemplated what was a tough loss tonight.
And Caden, it was definitely a wild one for you, leading laps, but showing why you call this your best track tonight.
Yeah, I led a lot of laps there. I mean, we got another second place finish. I think this is like our 8th on the season or something like that. But we had a really good car, and Dan took advantage of 2 tires and ended up getting the win there.
Well, Caden, third place for you in real life in the late model on Saturday night, going back to a top 5 a couple weeks ago, following up here on iRacing with a second. So quite a few good runs for you here in the recent weeks. So definitely good to still have that momentum coming up here moving forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it helps out a lot when you translate your real life racing to your iRacing, or even the opposite way, iRacing to real life. It helps a lot.
Well, Caden, we talked about on the broadcast, and you mentioned it earlier tonight too, when we were talking, you're out of the playoffs, but are you still going to try to make as many races as you can, or just kind of show up when you can?
I'm going to make as many races as I can. Obviously won't probably be able to make all of them, but we'll see if we can make next week.
All right, well, Caden, second place tonight after leading some laps. Who do you want to thank?
I just want to thank everybody that put this race on LSR TV, and yeah.
Second place, Caden Anderson. Another great finish. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe Justin Prince has made his way down the victory lane, where he's caught up for the 3rd time this season. Dan West Jr.
Yes, indeed. What a run tonight. It's your first win since the spring at Charlotte. Dan, what a race tonight. 85 laps led. How are you feeling with the victory?
Oh, I feel like we stole that one. That was all Caden. It was Caden's show out there today. He was schooling all of us, and just took 2 on. I knew Brightsman would take 2, so I knew I had to take 2. And I kind of felt like, looking at tire wear in practice, that we'd be okay, and it paid off.
How difficult was this type of race tonight? Because for many drivers, it was some of their first races here. For others, they lived and breathed at this racetrack when it debuted back in the end of the spring. Where was your mark on that, and how was it trying to make sure you were quick at this track as you were quickest in practice and qualifying?
Well, the key is just having some speed throughout the race, and I think I haven't run a race here yet, so I was just kind of trying to pace myself and save my stuff. Like Seth was saying, you got some short run speed, but trying to have some decent long run speed, and it seemed like Caden had both. So it took me, I don't know, probably 3/4 of the race to finally feel comfortable, if you will. Having that short run speed I feel like that's easy. It's just taking care of your stuff and making it last is the hard part.
Now, of course, a couple more races to go. You are locked in via points and victories into the postseason. That's a sure thing. But Pocono is not a sure thing in terms of who can win at that track because it's known for a couple big things. Strategy calls, some difficulty getting off of turn one off the starts of some of the races, and as well, tire wear and calls in that regard. Your take on Pocono next week?
I'm happy that I'm locked in, for one, but it'll be a fun race. Like you said, there's some strategy involved in that race, and it'll be fun. There'll be some drafting. It's a very unique track, like everybody sees and says. So I'm excited for it. Something different.
Who do you want to thank for your victory tonight here on the short tracks?
I'd like to thank Jeff and Sean for coming out and practice with me last night and kind of letting me learn the groove a little bit, if you will. LSR TV, Northwest Racing Series, Effective Web Solutions, and all you guys up in the booth. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations. By the way, the pace you ran tonight would put you essentially a top 5 car in any official race in a fixed series here at North Wilkesboro. Congratulations on the victory.
Wow, thank you.
Once again, that's Dan West Jr., and the pace mentioned, by the way, was in the ballpark of drivers like Parker Retzlaff and several others who have raced here at this facility in terms of that pace. Now, Wesley, first things first, want to hear your final thoughts, as this was a track you had a lot of memories with, a lot of experience calling races out here in its heyday, in its secondary revival. Your thoughts on seeing it all come to life here tonight for the Northwest Cup Series?
Well, I just hope that everybody enjoyed the Back to the Future virtual ride here on LSR TV. It was fun covering the action in the pits. The race had any and everything. If you like cautions and seeing cars get tore up, it had that. If you like the 3-wide excitement, the long green flag runs, it had that as well. And again, when it's all said and done, the man that was fast qualifier, Dan West Jr., though, very humble in saying that it was Caden Anderson's night, and Caden Anderson had a really, really strong piece in that 37, and I admire the fact that Anderson, even though not going to the playoffs by virtue of a win on the series and being out of the points, he's still running, he's still being the contender and trying to go for that victory. When it's said and done, Dan West Jr., 3rd win on the series, a phenomenal job. They'll get ready to go to Pocono, and we'll be ready Thursday night for the Truck Series, the Northwest iRacing Truck Series on LSR TV from Pocono. That should be a good one. Always fun working with you, gentlemen.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to see what happens at Pocono once again. It's kind of a crazy race with the current package at that track, and there are several cases where in fixed races, it can be crazy on some of the starts. But some of the fixed sets, depending on how it all fares out and how drivers practice it, there is still the chance compared to an open race of shifting. Your thoughts, Greg, on that race for the Cup Series?
I'm so excited to be headed to Pocono, Justin. Pocono is the triangle that drives like a road course. No other track like it, and so much fun. 3 very, very different corners on each part of the racetrack. I can't wait to see what these guys do at Pocono. That race has honestly been circled on my calendar all year. I don't know what it is about that track, but I always love coming here, especially on iRacing. I've done a few races there this year. Looking forward to another one here.
Yeah, when there was the low downforce package a few years ago specifically, it was one of my personal best tracks because it was at the time, if you got past the starts, known for long runs and clean racing. We'll have to see how things factor out for these drivers come next Monday night. You're on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Coverage will start once again at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 8:15 p.m. Pacific. Green flag expected by 8:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But what a race and what a victory for Dan West Jr. Congratulations to him on his 3rd victory of 2020. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For our producer today, in Charles Wooden, for Wesley Otwin in the pits, for co-announcer Greg Rentz, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. We'll see you at Pocono next Monday night. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.